What's going on, Crypto Nation? Hope y'all are having an awesome Monday. Had a great week. I know I've been gone for about a week. I was at a conference last week for some finance and working on a couple different things for the videos. Ones that'll be published, they won't be live streamed. I'll always do those still, but yeah, I'm working on just like publishing videos about different topics, options, just trading in general. I think I'm gonna do like some brokers ones. So I've been just kind of storming that, plus the conference. Y'all ever been to conferences? Y'all know it's like a job. It's like you're there all day talking and chatting, and definitely drains you mentally for sure, but it was good, fun, met some great people, learned a lot of stuff, got some ideas, you know, all that good fun stuff. Shocking breaking news. Crypto moved a little bit. Oh, snap. It's amazing. I know. Clap. Yay. Woo. I need a little soundboard for like the yay sound. This is Bitfinex price right here. So it finally broke out of that channel. You can see the flatness a little bit better on Bitstamp. Here you go. Right there. Staying underneath that 21 exponential for weeks, about 2 weeks. And finally got some movement. I'm not sure, you know, stock markets have been selling off, equities have been selling off and been a bloodbath for pretty much the whole month. October surprise, I would say, happened over in equities, definitely more so than Bitcoin, because right now the range for October has only been a measly little 8-9%. This is going to, I know we still have another day or so left, but this is going to be like the most squeezed range, I believe, ever in Bitcoin in October. Oh, I guess since like 2011, maybe not ever, but that's kind of the more relevant time frames, I would say. All right, let's go jump back over here real quick and look at we usually start here, just got so excited about price. We've got that dump, as you can see, only took out about 6 billion. That's not that much. It seemed like a lot more just because it hadn't moved in a while, but we're still holding above that 200-ish area, which you can see here has been making a nice base pretty much since mid-August. Bitcoin dominance still staying in the low 50s, a little bit higher now on the higher end, about 54%. So same shit, different day. Even though I had made a video in 5 or 6 days, it's still the same. It's pretty funny, and that was another reason too. I was like, man, I want to focus on the conference stuff and just kind of work on some other things, because you know, when price is just doing nothing, I was like, man, I need to build some other things and hang out with the family a little bit more and work on my scheduling, which is really important, because time is that commodity that you cannot buy. You don't get that one back, at least not yet anyway. Maybe someday. Very unlikely in my lifetime. All right, let's go back to some price action. Last 7 days, everything's been pretty garbage. 0x, BAT selling off pretty good. Those are some of the bigger movers though before, so not surprising. Also Dogecoin. So really kind of just boring. I wouldn't even consider any of this a big deal. It's still the same damn range and nothing has changed, and you can really see that on this Bitcoin chart if we zoom out. Oh wait, not on this one. We can really see it on the chart we've been looking at forever on Bitfinex. Let's jump over there. Green box that we've been in forever since I started making these videos. You can see we've spent 80+% of the time in this box just chilling. We've been in this consolidating triangle pretty much since the middle of summer. And you can see even with this sell-off, we've been riding this blue resistance line like pretty much as hard as we could. And now it did dump down to right at the bottom of the trend line. So this is just playing too damn perfect in here. It's it's pretty crazy how this is working out. But the apex again is very beginning of November. So again, the last video I made, I was kind of joking, but I don't know, maybe we do just get this shit where it just goes just keeps going through there for the whole year. Piss everybody off. If they can't shake you out, they wear you out. But anyway, getting to that corner here, and in the apex of this, the crossover, the trendline crossover is like right in the middle of this box too. So I mean, it couldn't get any more damn neutral. One good thing about price action though is that, let me go ahead and go to big screen here, is that we have the premium on Bitfinex has fallen substantially. So we've got 351 on Finex and about 260 on Bitstamp. Let's go over to Coinbase too and see. Same thing. So that is tightened substantially. It's less than $100 now. For a while it was like holding over that. So the market's stabilizing a little bit. I don't know, I guess that was just a little snafu with Tether or something, who knows. with this action that everyone got probably really excited for a second. But then, as we discussed, you can't really get that excited when no other exchange is participating. And again, these pink lines here, 618 retracements, they've held since the bear market has started back here. And every one of them is measured from the previous high to low. So this is measured from here to here. This one is measured from here to here, here to here, so on. Yeah, so as you can see, it didn't even close on there with whatever shenanigans you want to attribute this move to. The daily didn't even close above it, so still kind of weak. And that's right back to this trend line. It's probably was a magnet for price from the get, just because we couldn't even get close out of this and none of the other exchanges happened. So here we are back in the twilight zone once more again. The one thing that is good though is bulls are in the power zone on Bitfinex. Let's actually not look at Bitfinex, so let's go to Bitstamp. Yeah, because it's going to be very different. Yeah, so they are not in the power zone on the other exchanges. Looks like the bears are just about to creep in there. Another day closing above that 6150, which is the area we've been watching for a long time, is like serious support. Is not going to look good, and we might be headed there, guys. We're so close to it, it would almost be crazy that we didn't go there, I feel like. But being that that's right on that damn trend line, you never know. This compression is like something I haven't seen maybe ever in trading, and I've traded quite a bit of stuff. If I traded a lot longer, I've probably traded a good 6-7 years, but if I traded longer than that, I'm sure I would have seen some consolidation like this. I guess gold is kind of consolidating this way, if I'm going to look at that on the longer term. You kind of have to look at gold on a monthly versus the daily, just obviously more data, and it's a slow mover. So you can see kind of the same consolidation going on. And back over to Bitcoin, we'll talk about gold here later towards the end of the stream. Alright, back over here to BTC. Let me zoom in. One thing that's interesting on the weekly here is we've discussed weeks and weeks ago, and if you want to check out my other content, I do timestamp it. I am a little bit behind. I apologize for that. It's just been very busy. I will catch up on that. Here we go. If you see this, I can't even remember when we talked about it. It was probably a month ago. I'll briefly talk about it now. You know how the neutral zone is when between here about mid-teens and mid-20s on the DMI indicator, which is right here on the bottom when I'm scrolling over. And since January, pretty much this entire year, it has been in the neutral zone on a weekly basis. That's something I have not seen on any other underlying, and it's really crazy, and it trips me out a little bit. This is like the most serious compression ever. One thing you can tell too is the distance between these lines here has been compressing since each one. And now you could even say that this was a failed attempt of this one, and we are working on a new one, which let's not do it on Bitfinex. It'll be a little bit cleaner here, that this is a failed attempt from that. And so we could even take this bar. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. This is just not working out for me. And draw that across from those lows, you're about 6,500, which lines up with the 55, and this pretty much crossing, so that's pretty interesting. So now it does look like the bears are slightly gaining some momentum. If we zoom in a little bit, on the 1 hour, was still very neutral pretty much this whole time. Let's see on the 4 hour, I'm sure it was super neutral, yeah. So technically, the bears are gaining some momentum here in the hour and 4 hour and on the lower time frames. So that is something to keep an eye out for. But again, I've kind of been treating this as a no trade zone just because it's too damn tight, and the move coming out of this is going to be vicious. So I think it's better just to wait until this compresses out. And if we go back to our original chart we've been looking at for a while, let this compress into the apex here and see what happens. It's only another week away. You know, this is such a tight range, this couple $100. I don't really think it's worth it, unless maybe you're doing some quick scalps if you want to do that. But for longer term, I am trying to sit on my hands. Making no trade is still a position. Sometimes it's the one you need to be in. It's one of the hardest ones to be in too, because you just want to get in the action. But learning how to not be in a position is very important to being a successful trader. That is faux show. So Ethereum still kind of looking the same almost as the Bitcoin chart. Bears gaining control on the 4 hour as well. Let's check it out on the daily. On the daily, they don't have it. On Bitcoin, they do, but not on ETH. You know, but we are just sitting right here. But it did break that critical kind of 200 level, so I'm going to be very cautious with any kind of long positions. And breaks, Bitcoin break below 6150 on a daily, I will be hedging my portfolios pretty hard, because that's likely a good floor to go to the high 5,000s, and then it's kind of unpredictable down there. It depends on obviously on the force that the bears can push price down if they're able to, but there is almost no volume here in the last couple weeks, so there's not large conviction. So that's why I'm treating this as the no trade zone. So same kind of story here on internals and everything on Ethereum. Let's see if Litecoin has anything to offer. Looks very, very similar. Again, you can look back here on the DMI. They were kind of battling here in the neutral zone most of the time. Occasional little pops above that, but as y'all know, I don't really like to trade much off of the 1 hour, and I like a confluence of indicators as well. But yeah, you can see here you got a massive spike, but this spike was like already up in the 40s, which is an extreme level on the DMI. Usually there's pullbacks or consolidations after that. So that happened so abruptly, like that's too big for me to kind of just jump in trades. I need to wait for another, you know, at least a day to see what the price action does for that. Yeah, but you could also tell that this had been looking a little bit weakish on Litecoin. Here in the daily, you do have this rounded kind of formation here that was happening. And then just it riding down the middle of this channel, which we've been definitely keeping an eye on, but it just can't get out of its own way, guys. Crypto is just, it's just kind of in a sad place right now. All my friends want to trade stocks now and are learning how to do options and other stuff because they're like, oh man, crypto sucks. We're close, guys. We really are. It's less than a year. The bottom is definitely less than a year away, in my opinion. What the hell do I know? Let's go to EOS. EOS still, as we talked about in those other videos too, you know, a lot of trouble and no strength. Oh, I'm just like drawing dots everywhere. I was wondering what was going on. I couldn't scroll. There we go. Struggling below the 55 and the 21 consistently across almost every coin you could think of, so that wasn't the best sign either. And everything just kind of dumped. This could totally be like, this is what happened when the stock market dumped in early October, right around here. You got the BART formation here popping off, and so something like this is pretty likely, I think. Just cleaning up some money. I mean, the stock market has been just getting absolutely monkey hammered, and we are about to jump into that because it's probably a little bit more exciting than the crypto market, and that's okay too, because that means everyone's getting bored. I like that. But we've just been in such a tight range. I mean, you literally could have just been setting alerts earlier this month and they would have been the same, and you'd just be waiting. So don't be afraid to go live life and go to the park or do something else instead of just watching the screens all the time. Or learn how to trade other assets too. This is a perfect time to do that for sure when you get this sideways action. So shout out to my buddies and other people out there that are diversifying their tradables. It's really good for you. Let's go look at the rips. You know, we love the rips here. Someday I'll stop clicking on that one. The hell is BitSo? I've never seen this one on here. If y'all can see that, BitSo. I have no idea about BitSo. Alright, catching support on the longest term exponential here, this red line. That's kind of the line in the sand. The bears do have control on the 4-hour. They don't have it on the daily though, and they're about to lose it on the hourly. So again, this is probably just a little shock from today. It was pretty beast mode. It was definitely more comparable to around the 10th, which is what when the market sold off last time. So a little bit more comparable to that, although less damage on the cryptos this time. All right, let's just go ahead and jump into the equities because I think that's a little bit more important right now. Check out the ES. That is the mini futures contract on the SP 500. One of the most liquid products on the planet. If you want to trade futures, it's definitely a good one. But do know that you need to trade one contract. I would not have less than about 10 grand because it moves fast. You only need 3,500 or so depending on your broker to open the position, but the problem is what happens when you get one of these gigantic moves. Okay, each one of these points from, you see over here on the edge, 2650 to 2651, and this product is $50 every time it moves 1 point. So as you can see, like this little dump here, if you thought you're buying the dip and it goes from 2650 all the way down to, you know, roughly 2600, we'll just call that for easy math, that's $200 or $2,500 move on one lot. So if you had the ability to trade one future with $3,500, which you can do, but then in one day, actually in 1 hour, this happens, and you will likely close it because you're going to be real freaking scared. And then now you can't trade futures anymore because you went below that 3,500 level. I hope that makes sense. So do know that you need 10 grand. I know a lot of pro traders and guys that write, you know, newsletters and things of that nature, they pretty much recommend you need 25 to 50, and that's not a terrible recommendation, but I also think that's not looking into the world of options as much either. That's just kind of if you want to be more passive, but if you want to learn options and stuff, you can definitely play around, you know, with the 10 to 20k level for sure, but under that, do be aware of the risk that you're taking. Just like in this example, 1 hour, $2,500, and you know, an earlier hour right here did the same thing to the upside. So do know they are gigantic products. I believe the notional value on the ES contract is about $150,000, and you only have to put up $3,500 roughly. So think about it, that's some serious leverage. But see, the leverage isn't just in the crypto market, guys. All right, so there's a little mini rant. Sorry. Had to get that out of the way, though. I think that's very important. So here we go. Let's look at it the longer time frame. Take the internals away. Just look at some price action. So as you can see here, monkey hammered, looking just about like the very beginning of this year. We've pretty much given up all of the gains that we had from the beginning of the year, and even actually are slightly negative because here is the first, this little 2 cluster. And so we are below that now. We are at a serious point of support, though. We have made it all the way down to the longest term daily exponential moving average. And we have been there for the last few days, kind of hovering around it, you know, give or take 50, 60 points. And when you're having these big ass moves like this, 50, 60 points becomes not that much. As you can see, bear market rallies are very mean indeed, like this one here, going up about 80 points just in a day, only to give that up later in the week. So This is looking pretty gnarly. This is one of the biggest moves that we've seen in a really long time. And what's a little different about it, too, is the volatility. Let's go ahead and look at the volatility index. We don't look at that very much. Now, the volatility was definitely scarier here, right? But something to take away from this that's very important is the latter part. Let's just call it the very beginning of February. It started, like, getting a little crazy. And then only in about a week, all of this action happened right here. Let me just kind of box that in to make this a little bit make more sense. So only in about, you know, a week or two, all of the action came and it was back down into pretty regular levels. Fast forward to today, we are at elevated levels, but for the entire month of October, we have been there. Now we haven't made as near as highs, but volatility seems to be stabilizing in this area. And that is a very different characteristic that we haven't seen in this market in years. So, you know, it did stay elevated a little bit afterwards right here, but, you know, relatively speaking, we didn't hit 50s yet. So it's maybe this is cooking up to, you know, the election is close. It's next week. There's lots of crazy stuff going on. You'll know I don't care about news or anything, but I do think something that's really weird that's happening right now, and I don't care which side you are on about it. It's pretty neutral to me, and this isn't like a political show. But when you have all these people marching up and about to be on the borders of our country and in the States, I'm not sure how either side, even how this is going to go. It doesn't seem like there's many good outlets for this scenario. I know there's already been some clashing a little bit in different borders, and we're sending troops down there now. I don't know. It's pretty wild, and it also lines up right on election day. It's pretty much like next week happening. It's just really weird. That is kind of a lingering black swan or just unknowable event of what that is going to entail. And I think volatility is showing that. And not just that thing too, but just the elections in general. People are kind of freaking out. A lot of people are saying that Democrats might be able to get the House and all these other things. So volatility and fear is definitely elevated, and it's staying bid pretty hardcore. It's actually riding up a 21 exponential daily, which doesn't happen too often unless it's getting real serious. And that is about $20 right now on the low of that. And if you look, let's zoom out a little bit on the weekly. Here's the VIX really long term. And if we look at this, let's go to monthly, make it a little bit cleaner. There we go. So if you look at this on a monthly, I have these cups here that are just different cycles, pretty much bull market cycles, and then, you know, the crash that follows large bull markets. And as you can see, the timing is pretty damn good. What you also can see, this is monthly. Look at that volatility candle. And there's not really any big ones back here that can rival this one, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Look at this volatility candle right here. I mean, oh, sorry, I was going to make a little arrow. This guy right here, that is beast mode candle. Usually volatility likes to sell off, but given the timing of all this and certain events that have been going on, there's no reason that, you know, here's 3 months in a row where volatility literally had no downticks for 3 months. It went from 15 all the way up to 50 over 3 months. This is almost like an engulfing candle, too, of all of this previous volatility of the last 5 years, which is pretty interesting to me. So I think there's lots of opportunity in the market right now, but do be very careful. Let's see if we go to the ES. You know, I know everybody wants to buy the dip, but all the dip buyers have been getting their faces ripped off. And the shorters have had some really nasty rallies that have made it difficult too, right? A lot of people probably got short in this area thinking, oh, I broke this trend line, everyone's watching, you know, the same movie, like we always talk about. You know, let's short all this, let's get into it, I missed it. Then they ripped all their faces off here, but then kept going down. And then a lot of people bought this and thought they were right, but look where it gets rejected, y'all. So I try to tell a lot of people when they first want to start, like using a 21 and a 55 exponential moving average is a really good, just general place to start, and maybe throw RSI on there. And you know, you have a pretty, I guess a good foundation, but you know, when you use too many damn things, it's just crazy. You know what? I'm gonna open up a, this will be kind of fun. I'm gonna open up a, I have to pull it off screen real quick to log in. I'm gonna get this framed actually because I think it's really hilarious. So when I first started, all right, let me log in. It's a stockcharts.com account. If you haven't used them, they're actually really badass. I like them a lot. No, I don't know what the password is. I haven't logged in so long. Well, maybe I'll have to just show it on tomorrow's stream. Yeah, it looks like it. Damn, sorry. Well, anyway, it's a chart and it has so much crap on it. I mean, I have like 50 indicators and all the different ones down here. I mean, it takes you like, you can scroll down for like 3 pages. You can't even see price on the chart. It's hilarious. So keep it simple, stupid, to even keep it simple before I rant too much about that. KISS method. It's important. Here you go on the daily. Look at this. When we broke the 21 exponential, which we talked about a lot, and selling into weakness to it. But when you have weakness and then below it, and then another one can't even get above it at all, and then another one the same day, this is a very bearish pattern. It's 3 candles in a row of making lower lows and not even retracing halfway up. Extremely bearish, and then it happens a 4th time. It just couldn't get out of its own way. And if you zoom in on the 4-hour too, there was, you know, it broke all the major moving averages plus this longer term green line here, which has been there for, we can zoom out to show you, it's the channel going back to 2016 March. So, but we are getting to a lot of critical areas. So if you see the 3-day has the 144 exponential, the daily we're down here. The weekly is kind of in no man's land though, so that's interesting. The weekly lines up with 2500, and on a different way that I chart that I don't show people, at least not yet anyway, I also have good support at 2500. Yeah, and you're like, why aren't you going to show me that, dude? What the hell? Well, I can't show you everything. You know what I'm saying? Can't do that. But, let's see here. It looks like we might have a nice little bounce off here. I could totally see that up into the 2700 area. Match up with a lot of this business that's been done across here. And then that would be perfect fuel to roll back over. That would also be a nice little kind of wave here, bam, 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 right? And it's not going to be that long. That's kind of a bad drawing, but whatever, you get the general idea. Let me remove that. So good support. I am selling volatility into this move just because when it gets elevated like this, it's a really high probability trade. Just do not do it open-ended with your risk. Do make a risk-defined trade on that. Okay, and this isn't financial advice, of course, but that's what I'm doing. You don't want to get your face ripped off. Like I showed you earlier with the example of futures, when they move fast, and it can eat you up just as fast. And yeah, you can make money off of them too, but they are very hard products to trade. That's where the big boys are playing, so do be ready when you go over there. So as you can see too on the Nasdaq, same pattern pretty much exactly, catching off on the longest term moving average. Internals are still very bearish, but there is slight divergence printing on the RSI and on the DMI. Still kind of weak, as we couldn't get back over 50. But it is starting to print just ever so slightly. I'm not getting too excited about that. I still think there's a little bit more downside up until November 6th next week, which I believe is a Tuesday. They usually are on Tuesdays. Yeah, so Tuesday. Yeah, that's plenty of time to bounce and still sell off a little bit, as y'all can see, because volatility is over 20, which is badass, especially if you are a premium seller. I know my premium sellers out there are loving it. We haven't been below it in a while. The longest term moving average, this red line here, which I guess is actually easier to see when I click it. Kind of lights up with the dots. So that has only been breached a couple times. Last time it has even touched it was not last summer, sorry, summer 2016. And that was coming out of that really gnarly movement from the previous summer when we had the August crash, which was really intense. So, do know the regime has changed a little bit in this market. We very well could get one of these little V-bottoms. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm not seeing anything yet to give me that signal. And Apple also reports Thursday night, so I know the market's definitely waiting on that. Faux show. All right, let's go to the Russell, because the Russell is the small caps. It's the one that told us, hey, dude, this shit sucks. Way back here. It told us all the way back in September. Even a little preview here in mid-September, but by late September, last week of September, it was already like, hey, dude, this is getting whack. You can see DMI gets in the power zone. Bulls are pushed all the way into the weak zone while we break all the moving averages at the same time. And this is what I talk about when I talk a confluence of indicators all lining up. You get into the weak zone on RSI. I don't like to call that oversold because that implies buying opportunity to me. I think that's bad language to use. It gets into the weak zone here. You get the weak zone on the bulls, and then you're in the mass power zone on the bears, plus under all the moving averages. Those are very high probability trades. And being patient, waiting for those is really what trading's about. You know, people just want to trade every day, and that's what usually shakes them up, and they get their ass handed to them. I know that's happened to me at least one time. I'll tell you that. If you listen to some of my streams earlier, I have talked about those at length of kind of blowing out stuff and doing dumb shit and not managing your risk. You should already know what your target and stop loss is when you open the trade. That way it's not emotional. Very important. Alright, let's go to oil. Y'all know we love to look at the Earl. Some people here in Texas call it. It is Earl country. Here we are. A lot of support in this mid-60s area, as you can just see by looking left a little bit. On the daily, we did get back into the neutral zone. Not too surprising. We talked about that pretty much that last video I was doing, that we were getting to that kind of area. Oh, excuse me. It is looking slightly bearish, though. Like, this could just be another little bear flag to pull it back down. Maybe that would be a measured move right here to the longer-term exponential. So that could totally go down. But let's zoom in a little bit, see if we got anything. Yeah, so the bears did get a little control here at the end of the day. But nothing too exciting. This is a real good sine wave and real good pattern in, I would say, mostly neutral. Especially if we chop out to the 4 hour. Yeah, very neutral. But this is putting in a pretty serious flag formation. If you don't know what that is, it's something about like that. Sometimes they can also be pennant types like this. This is definitely a flag. So really the way to trade this is range it, and then when it breaks out, you can get maybe a little bit more aggressive. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on oil right now. Overall in a neutral flag type zone. But we are sitting on lots of support in this area, so a bounce back up to test between 68 to 69.5 wouldn't surprise me at all, or at least maybe up to about 68. All right, gold. So gold has done okay. It had this pop right here on the 10th. That was the big crash. The next day, it had a real big move. after that sell-off in early October on equities. It was a little late to the party. But look what it did today. And look what it's doing right now. Look, I mean, the market's been selling off the last few days. And we're not getting anything. Kind of sucks. What's up with that? I don't know. Massive support at 1220. 1210, 1220. It needs to hold that. And ultimately, you could do a fib off of this. And you are at about, yeah, I mean, 1200 if you want to be real loose. But this is kind of making a type flag formation here. And as long as this bottom line holds up, this is actually really bullish kind of setup right here. A pop and then like a drift up like that. This is a really good setup chart here. So do keep an eye on the hourly though. This is where you're going to get a little bit of hints on the early, you know, maybe you can get like a little bit of early spotting, but they're not really showing us anything. Bears have a slight advantage at this moment, but lots of business being done ever since that pop in early October. Again, surprise gold did not go up at all today. With Nasdaq was almost down 5% at one point, which is a massive move in equities. So in short about the equities again, to wrap that up, we're at very critical levels here in the longer term, but they still do have a little bit of room to go to the downside. And as we look at on the daily here, this longer term support is right here. And then if we really want to look, I'll show you a trend line that isn't on this drawing, but I'll go ahead and draw it real quick. It's pretty fast. If you do the trend line from the 08 bottom, 09 bottom, from all of this mess, this is blue line now. We're here, but we really don't have major support until this blue line, which is about 2500, which guess what? Lines up almost perfectly. Look at that. With this exponential that we were just talking about at 2500. So that's going to be the major support level. That would even be the bottom of this wick. A lot of time for shakeouts, they like to go into at least this zone. And they did a little bit today. But unless Apple blows it out of the water on Thursday, since everyone holds Apple, it's one of the largest holdings. I mean, it's going to have to perform amazingly well to get out of its own way for the market to get excited. Totally could happen. We will see. Again, Apple reports earnings Thursday night after the close. I guess that's implied a little bit. All right, wrap it up. Bitcoin trying to do its thing. Not looking super bad, really. I know it dropped a little bit, and people are like, "Oh shit." Not that terrible of a move. We are still so much in this damn box here. Again, the story hasn't changed. It's been very boring probably to hear, because I know it's been boring to talk about a little bit. At least we got some excitement in equities, right? So I got to trade multiple things. I'm actually going to need to extend this box over a little bit, because, you know, there we go. Give it some extra room. Again, Apex Triangle happening next week. We should have the moves, but given everybody and their mom is watching this like a hawk, I wouldn't be surprised if it just went through it sideways and waited for backed to come out, which I believe is December 12th, right around here, is backed. So, wherever that vertical red line is. Yeah, it would not surprise me at all just to have this crap happen, like pretty much the same shit, just the same shit until that goes down. All right, with that said, be patient. It's important. If you had some balls, maybe getting long here isn't the worst idea. I got a tiny long position, maybe just for a little bounce. We'll see what happens. Super tiny though, and I will be hedging majorly if we get that daily close below 140-ish, 150. And definitely below 125. That is 61.25, by the way. Again, massive resistance here, 7K, and the short-term resistance still at about 65 to 6,600. Ain't shit changed. All right, y'all have a lovely night. This has been No Noise. I am Z-Rex. It's been a pleasure. we're back in the scene, back in town, getting it going. And I don't have any conferences. Well, actually, shit, I am going to Vegas in 2 weeks for a finance conference. So I'm trying to also learn how to maybe do some more shit on the road, and kind of was practicing with that at this last one. So hopefully, you know, I'm learning too, like the rules and things of that nature of doing that. But with that said, it's been a pleasure. If you like anything or got value from this, sub, bell, and smash. And we will see y'all tomorrow. Take care. Peace.